No, I know they had that boat. That's when you get okay. Then it was, this guy doesn't sound like
Can you give us like a 1 minute so we can set up a live stream? I think, I guess one of them give you a thumbs up and we're good to go for live stream.
You want me to turn off my cell phone?
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming out.
Good morning. Good morning.
So I am Stephanie Vasquez. I am the Chief Program Officer for Alamo Promise, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all here to the Alamo Colleges District as we announce a major donation to Alamo Promise. So Alamo Promise is our bold initiative which provides last dollar funding for students to attend any one of our Alamo colleges. So I want to recognize our special guest speakers today. We have Mr. Harvey Najim, a renowned philanthropist in our great city, and the reason we're all here to celebrate today. State Senator, yes, please. We also have with us State Senator Jose Menendez, a friend of Mr. Najim and of the Alamo Colleges District. We have Bexar County Judge Nelson Wolf, a longtime supporter and champion of the Alamo Colleges District and one of our tri-chairs for Alamo Promise. And then we also have Mr. Anthony White, chair of the Alamo Colleges Foundation Board. And last but certainly not least, Kayla Smith, one of our Alamo Promise scholars. So now it's my privilege to welcome to the podium our Alamo Colleges Board Chair, Mr. Marcelo Casillas.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Vasquez. I am pleased to be here this morning as we announce this very generous gift from one of our major benefactors. I would like to recognize my fellow trustees at this time, Dr. Yvonne Katz, Joe Aldarete Jr., Joe Jesse Sanchez. I don't see anybody else. All right, thank you. On behalf of the board, I would like to thank Mr. Harvey Najim for his continuing support of our colleges and our students, and especially for this very significant investment in Alamo Promise. Without this generosity and support of exceptional individuals such as Mr. Najim, the Alamo Promise program would not be possible, sir. Thank you so much.
So thank you, Mr. Casillas. And at this time, I'd also like to recognize our special guest. So we have Mr. Hall Hammond from our foundation board. We have Vanessa Hurd, Chief of External Affairs from SAISD. We have Dave Peterson from the San Antonio Chamber. We have Marta Tijerina from the foundation board. Robert Ziegler, our former San Antonio College president and foundation board member as well. And then we also have some representatives from our steering committee. We have Ivales Mesa from the mayor's office, Nelson Wolf. Well, you are here, sir. You can get a second round of introductions here. We also have Ms. Megan Butler from the San Antonio Education Partnership, Romanita Mata Varela from SA Works. Yes, here we go. And Chris Corso from our foundation board. So thank you all for coming out this morning. And we also have some special internal guests as well. So we're joined by our Vice Chancellor for Student Success, Dr. Adelina Silva. And we also have Ms. Sheila Marlowe-Dew, our Executive Director for the Alamo Colleges Foundation. So thank you. So it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Mike Flores, Chancellor of the Alamo Colleges District.
All right, thank you, Stephanie. How are you all doing?
Great.
You brought out some very important people, Harvey. So I want to thank Chairman Casillas. In fact, I really want to thank the entire Board of Trustees for their support. So Chairman Casillas and Vice Chair Alderete, Assistant Board Secretary Joe Jesse Sanchez, immediate past Chair Dr. Yvonne Katz, everybody for what they have done. And it wasn't, I could say it was in this room, but it was actually in our old headquarters several years ago that promise was discussed of being able to provide no-cost college education to each and every one of our students within Bexar County. And that's a big lift when we look at it. And so with a big lift, we need big champions. We need significant and important champions that are with us and who step on board. And especially lead gifts like Mr. Najim's gift, and that's particularly significant. And I'm going to tell you about a little bit of our journey with Mr. Najim, with Harvey, and the conversations that we've had relative to that, because it really chronicles how significant Alamo Promise is and how significant this gift is to each and every one of us within the county. So as we look at support and championing of the Alamo Colleges District by Harvey, he previously donated $1 million to the Harvey Najim Pathway Scholarship for students from local school districts within the city and within the county to support students who are pursuing challenges and who are interested in specific fields, and that's significant. He and his family also gave over $100,000 to support the Najim Family Foundation scholarships in 2018, which offered annual scholarships to students in key sectors, high-wage, high-demand fields, looking at advanced manufacturing, computer information systems, with a focus in cybersecurity, and then nursing and allied health. And we know if we are to be competitive, because we hear the judge talk about it, if we're to be competitive in high-wage, high-demand fields in a global economy, we really need to key in on those sectors, because that's what the future is all about. And then in addition, Harvey Najim Charitable Foundation contributed $75,000 to the Scobie Education Center to ensure support and sponsorship for over 1,200 local students in grades 4 through 12 to provide them with that STEM experience. So clearly, Harvey recognizes that students, the challenges that they face in enrolling in higher education, in looking at these key fields, these high-wage, high-demand areas, and he underscores and realizes how important and critical financial assistance is to our students and to our students who would like to pursue a college education, and particularly a program like Alamo Promise. So I mentioned a journey, and so Harvey does not go into anything quickly. He's a numbers guy. He asks focused questions, and he studies data. He takes time to meticulously look at programs before he makes any investment. He wants to make sure that it meets a specific stamp of approval. And we know he's very discerning in his support and championing for causes within our community. But we see an alignment in his previous support with the Alamo Colleges District, and we understand that this is a big lift, and if anybody's going to do it, it would be Harvey. And he has said that a lack of education is one of the challenges that we face within our community. And he's been watching that progress for over a year. And so it says here on the script that he is pleased with what he has seen with regard to Alamo Promise. And so I think we wouldn't be here today, this morning, if he were not pleased with the journey that we've taken. And so we're honored to receive Harvey Najim's stamp of approval for Alamo Promise. And I'm going to ask all of you to join me in a round of applause for Harvey for his gift. So I want to mention a few proof points as part of that journey, because this has been a year-long conversation. And so there are several steps that students have to take in order to be a pledge and then a scholar. So there are 9,000 eligible students. There's 25 high schools in phase one. Those are schools in which the college going rate is less than half. So they have to do one thing. They have to save their seat first, which is indicating interest. They then have to do, and we had of the 9,000, we've had 8,000 students save their seat. So out of 9, we have close to 8. I'd say that's a pretty high percentage. I know we had election returns on Super Tuesday, right, Judge and Senator? Yes. And so I think that's no runoff. That's straight going forward all the way to the general election, maybe even already getting inducted. So 8,000 of the 9,000 high school seniors have saved their seat. We have close to 5,000 students who have saved their seat, who have completed Apply Texas, and who have filled out the financial aid form. So close to 5 of 9,000 students. This is just spectacular, and the groundswell of support that we've seen from students and parents and educational champions within our community. And this is significant that as we look to support no-cost undergraduate education within Bexar County. And so, Harvey, on behalf of the Alamo Colleges District, on behalf of our Alamo Promise partners and our steering committee, I want to thank you for your support of Alamo Promise. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you very much, sir.
So thank you, Dr. Flores. Thank you, Mr. Najim, and thank you all. We've heard just a little bit about the data points and proof that we've seen of all the work that's gone into this first year of Promise, and we are just getting started. So with that, I would like to introduce our state senator, Jose Menendez.
Thank you all, especially thank you, Harvey. Dr. Flores, thank you. Great rundown. It was good to hear everything, especially those 5,000 students. You know, this week's been an interesting week. I think the last few months we've had some interesting news. I think many of us have decided to bump elbows rather than shake hands recently. And what I love about today is that we're getting to celebrate some really good news. And thank you for this opportunity. It's always good to be with you and your board. Y'all are doing such a terrific job. And as we move further towards the reality of a countywide promise for the Alamo Colleges, I believe that this Alamo Colleges is not a good investment, it's the best investment.
Thank you.
And I want to say thank you. You know, some of us may or may not know this, but San Antonio is one of the poorest working class cities in the nation. And with such a diverse set of students, and the first step for many of us to break the cycle is where they come from, the poverty, the trauma, whether it's first generation. And for many of us, you know, when you show up to school on the first day and you don't know how to speak English, you talk about not even knowing how to get into college. You know, thank goodness that there were those counselors that said, hey, apply here, do this, here, visit here. College visits for me were on that little television that the VHS player was bigger than the screen. Those were my college visits. So I want to thank Alamo Colleges for your embracing and nurturing the students, putting them first and on a path to success. Dr. Silva, thank you for all the good work that you're doing. So as someone who showed up the first day of school not knowing how to speak a word of English, and now I have the honor and privilege of representing Bexar County and the state of Texas on the Higher Education Committee, I get to visit with a lot of universities. And many of the heads of the universities, you know what they tell me? Some of their best students are transfers from Alamo Colleges. So this Alamo Promise is a bold move, and it's more than just the commitment and the investment that's being made. It sends a message to our community, to the whole community. It sends a message to young people. You know, Judge, you remember when we were council members and we'd get driven around on National Night Out? The one night in 1997, I'll never forget, Castroville Road, Las Palmas Apartments, National Night Out, and there's a young man sitting on the stairs, and I'm saying hi to everybody. I'm 27, more energy than I know what to do with. And I say, hey, where are you going to college? Where are you going to school? Oh, John F. Kennedy. Well, where are you going to college? My family doesn't go to college. We can't afford college. And so, you know, I had been learning about the Education Partnership. I'm glad they're here. But this young man, his mindset was like a lot of people, we just don't go. We don't even apply. We don't even look into it. That's what y'all are breaking with this Alamo Promise. You're sending the message that they can go, that if they have the desire, las ganas, they can go. That they're worth our time, our money, and our love. And they're the most important investment we have. Harvey, this is just one of many of your generous contributions in this community. And it's important. But even more important than the money is Saint Harvey. Oh,
So thank you, Senator, for those remarks, for reiterating the collective support that's behind Alamo Promise. This is city, county, and really statewide, and the work that we're doing here. And really the notion that our students are worth it, that our community is deserving, is why we are here today. So thank you for that. Further ado, I'd like to introduce, for the third time today, Judge Nelson Wolf to the podium.
You know, I think it was about 5 years ago, but I must warn you, when you're over 65, if you think something happened double the time, so it might be 10 years. I was sitting down, I think it was at Club Giroux with Joe McKinney, who is a banker here in the community and who was very active, and he said, I want to tell you that there's a client of mine. He said, well, a lot of people in San Antonio will soon hear of him. And so we've seen what he's done. And what's good about the way that he's approaching it, you know, it's about children and about education, job training, etc. So he's been very true to his initial focus about what he wanted to do and give back and make happen in San Antonio. And so we've seen him do that, and now we see him stepping up in a very, very major way with respect to Alamo Promise, giving everybody an opportunity. And Harvey, this is so important because not everybody's going to be science, not everybody's going to be a doctor. So there's a wider range when we talk about education and a wider range of skills that are needed in our community. So every person coming out of high school, they're not the same. We know they're not the same. He's not that great in math, He's not that great in science, and he's not doing any good at all in English. And so he said to the teacher, you know, there's something you don't know about my son. He works every summer in a plumbing company. And over that period of time, every summer through his sophomore, junior, senior year, skills, and he will be poised to become a master plumber. Now, I think that tells a lot about education. It depends on what that person wants to do, has some passion for, and whether it's coding or computer science or whatever it might be, there's a pathway for him. And to me, that's why the Alamo College District is our most important education institution in the city, I believe, coming out of high school. Because that person that's fixing to graduate needs to know there's many different pathways he can take, and needs to know that, just like the senator said, he's not going to have to worry about, well, I can't pay the tuition. So this is a significant program, Harvey, and we're so delighted that you have stepped up on this program as you have on many others. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Judge Wolf, for your words of support, for being with us from the very beginning, and really being one of our strongest champions of Alamo Promise, and highlighting that the Alamo Colleges, the Alamo Promise is a pathway for our students. And so now we'll hear from one of our students, one of our first ever Alamo Promise scholars, who will be pursuing that pathway with us in the fall. So Miss Kayla Smith, please come on up to the podium.
Hi. Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. My name is Kayla M. Smith. I'm a senior at John Jay Science and Engineering Academy and an Alamo Promise Scholar. Since I was young, my dad's instilled an importance of education into me and my younger sister. As the oldest sibling, I believe furthering my education will set a good example for my younger sister, and I also hope my younger cousins see me following my dreams and do the same. We are a very close family, and I've always stressed to them that they should continue their education as well. I learned about becoming an Alamo Promise Scholar after I started applying for colleges, and it became clear just how much it was going to cost me to pursue my dreams at a four-year university. When I realized the opportunity offered by Alamo Promise, I made the decision to become an Alamo Promise Scholar. I plan on enrolling this fall at Northwest Vista College and then transferring to Texas A&M University at Corpus Christi to study marine biology. I've always had a love for marine animals, and I want to focus my education into environmental conservation and protecting endangered marine life. Alamo Promise is extremely important, not just to me, but for every student in Bexar County. It allows students who wouldn't have the means to continue their education a chance to be successful, and I'm proud to be one of the first students to benefit from this generous opportunity. I would like to thank the Alamo Colleges District for making it possible for me to pursue my educational and career goals. And I want to personally thank Mr. Najim for making such a significant donation to offer the opportunity of the Alamo Promise program to as many students as possible. Thank you.
So thank you, Kayla. Thank you for putting in the work to be one of the first students to take advantage of this opportunity. So she has saved her seat. She has done her Apply Texas, her financial aid, and will be ready to greet you in the fall. And you are the reason why we're here today. So thank you again for sharing a bit of your story. So now I'd like to turn it over to our Alamo Colleges Foundation Board Chair, Mr. Anthony White.
Thank you. I have the great honor of introducing Mr. Harvey Najim, the reason we're all here this morning. Philanthropy is the key ingredient that can turn good to great. It's the key ingredient that, when coupled with an incredible academic institution such as Alamo Colleges, it becomes the ultimate catalyst for student success. It's the difference maker for helping students achieve what they once thought was impossible, a college education. Now, I heard Kayla, she talked about setting a good example for her sister and her cousins. She talked about pursuing dreams, and that's what today is all about. Harvey E. Najim started what eventually became Serious Computer Solutions in 1980. He built the company to employ over 1,000 people with over $1 billion in annual revenues. His hard work and success in business allowed him to start the Harvey E. Najim Charitable Foundation. Established in December 2006, the foundation is aimed at helping children's charitable organizations in greater San Antonio area with food, shelter, clothing, medical treatment, special needs, homelessness, and early childhood education. Since 2007, the Najim Family Foundation and Mr. Najim personally have given over $100 million in grants and pledges. Mr. Najim is a member of the Board of Directors of United Way and Haven for Hope. He was the 2014 campaign chair for United Way, which raised $55 million that year. He served as the chairman of the Board of United Way in 2016-17. He also chaired the Bexar County Children's Agenda in 2016 and 17, which resulted in growing healthy, happy, ready children in Bexar County. Harvey knows what this city needs and is dedicated to the economic viability of this region and will do what it takes to create opportunities for educational attainment. He's about getting it done. Harvey, on behalf of the Alamo Colleges Foundation, I want to thank you for what you're doing for this community. Please help me welcome Harvey E. Najim.
Thank you. Thank you. Jose, thank you for being here. Nelson, thank you for being here. Thank you for all the kind words from everyone. You know, I made a commitment to the guy upstairs back in 2004 that if I was to ever come into a lot of money, that I would be his servant on earth. And I think God picked Bill Gree, he picked me, so that we would help other people. I don't believe that the money that I have gotten I don't think it belongs to me, it belongs to him. So I'm trying to do what he says. I've also learned to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Mike, you and I talked about that. And what do I mean by that? Well, being comfortable, being uncomfortable, to me says that if you're uncomfortable about something, discomfort produces change. Nelson, I know you in the county do that. Jose, you do that. The city does it. I did it in business. And so there are certain things that have bothered me for a long time. We have over 30,000 youth in this city between the ages of 16 and 23 that are not in college and not employed. They should be coming to school. They should be getting some education so that they can go on and work. We probably have close to 40% of the population in Bexar County that barely can afford the basics of living. I think that's a problem. And so we have the highest child abuse rates in the state of Texas. That's why I made such a large donation to the child safe. And I just heard yesterday that we used to be the second city in the country with the highest poverty rate. We're now number one, Jose. So these are things that are problems. And then my foundation office is in the Spectrum building. And when Sirius moved out there in 2012, I kept my foundation office there Couple years later, Oracle moves in, hired at first 200 people, then they hired another 300. So I see these young kids on the elevator, and where are you from? Dallas, Houston, Chicago, Phoenix, LA, Seattle, Portland, Atlanta. And occasionally I would meet one, and then some lady got on one day, and I said, "You work for Oracle?" And she says, "Yes." And I said, "What do you do?" She says, "I'm the HR manager." I said, "You're not getting off this elevator to answer one question." And I scared the hell out of her, but I said, "What percentage of the kids that you're hiring came from San Antonio?" She said, "Less than 10%. They now have 500. Let's say it's 20%. That's 400 kids who've graduated from college, have moved here, pumping 50 to 60K a year into the economy, which is $20 to $24 million a year. And they should be kids from San Antonio doing that. So that's what got me started about the Pathway Scholarship. I want to thank Deborah Martin. She's been a big help to me, and because I asked a lot of questions, and I think she was saying, "Is this the last one?" And I said, "No, it's not the last one." I said, "Until I feel comfortable with it." But I really like what Toyota did, a 5-year commitment for $500,000, and that's what I'm doing, with 80% going to the students for the current year, 20% going into an endowment to help fund the future growth of this. So I'm a big proponent of the Alamo colleges. I think this is the way for us to reduce the cost of college, a 4-year degree, come here for the first 2 years, and then go to UTSA, Texas A&M, San Antonio, the Health Science Center, finish up, and hopefully we can get a 4-year degree for these kids for maybe $10 to $15, maybe $20,000. And that's better than spending 55 to 60 grand a year at Baylor, which one of my daughters did. And so it's an honor to be here. And Mike, thank you for your time. Thank you for hosting this event today. Thank you for all the kind words. It's the right thing to do. So I understand there's something here we need to turn over. You want to get somebody to do that?
Come on, Kayla. That's good. Yep. Oh. Come on, Kayla.
Yes.
Everybody get in there behind the trick.
Yeah.
In here.
Get in close, guys. Smile.
For board members? Yes, please.
All right, everybody get a little closer since it's north here. Everybody smile.
We're getting cozy.
Cozy, cozy. Everybody gets their picture.
Okay, right here. 1, 2, 3. Got it.
All right.
Perfect.
Wait.
He's still scanning.
No,
One more?
One more.
One more, okay.
One more, okay.
We're gonna start charging.
I thought we were already.
All right. You got it?
Thank you all.
Thank you.
So thank you all again for joining today. We've heard a lot of proof points about the work that's still to be done in Bexar County when it comes to our college going and our poverty rates. But I think with Dr. Flores' opening remarks, with those 8,000 students, we are doing the work right now. So thank you all again for coming out. We invite you to have fellowship. We have refreshments in the back. So please stick around a bit and enjoy each other's company. Thank you again.